Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're cracking open Adam Grant's hidden potential.
Hidden potential.
It really got me thinking differently, about this whole idea of potential. And
Yeah.
not just for, the quote-unquote gifted few, but for everyone.
Right.
Not just about talent,
Right.
It's about character, support systems, even, the systems around us, how those impact our ability to, do great things.
Yeah.
So have you ever felt like you had more to offer but weren't sure how to tap into it? That's what we're going to explore today.
Yeah. And Grant starts right off the bat by saying, talent, maybe that is evenly distributed, but opportunity
Oh, absolutely not.
is not. He tells us this amazing story about the Raging Rooks.
Oh, I love that story.
It's a chess team from a really tough inner-city school in New York, and they end up going to the National Junior High Chess Championships.
Incredible. Talk about defying the odds.
Yeah.
And their coach, Maurice Ashley, he really focused on those character skills, like grit, determination, not just raw talent.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, do we focus too much on natural ability and not enough on the qualities that we can actually, get better at?
Totally. And Grant, he backs this up with research.
He does, yeah.
He talks about this study where entrepreneurs were given training either in business skills, like the, nuts and bolts, like creating a business plan,
Yeah.
or they were trained in character skills, things like being proactive, disciplined, determined.
And those are often overlooked.
Yeah. And the results were surprising. The ones who got that character skills training, their profits grew by 30%
Wow.
in 2 years.
That's 3 times more than the group who just got the, straight-up business skills training.
It really challenges what we think about, success in business. It's not just about having a good idea.
Right.
It's about having the drive, the resilience to keep going when things are tough.
Yeah, exactly. And think about it. This applies to anything, not just business. Learning a new language, mastering an instrument, just being better at your job. It all comes back to those core character skills.
It reminds me of those polyglots Grant talks about, Sarah Maria and Benny Lewis.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, they learned all these different languages as adults, and they talked about how they would deliberately put themselves in uncomfortable situations
Yes.
to speed up their learning, throwing themselves into the deep end, knowing they were going to make mistakes,
Yeah.
but embracing those mistakes as part of the process.
Totally. Have you ever felt intimidated by learning something new?
Oh, absolutely.
How could you apply that, get comfortable with discomfort strategy to your own life?
I love that phrase, get comfortable with discomfort.
Right.
It's about pushing past that fear and realizing that, discomfort is often a sign you're growing. But Grant also talks about being a, what does he call it? A feedback ninja.
Yes. Learning to, soak up the good stuff and let the bad stuff roll off.
Like a sponge.
Like a sponge, yeah. Actively seeking feedback.
Oh, okay.
But then you got a filtered effect.
That's the tricky part, right?
It is. It's how do you sift through all that feedback and not get overwhelmed?
Yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed.
Grant has this great story about Melody Hobson. She was being mentored by Bill Bradley,
Oh, wow.
the NBA star
Yeah.
and senator. And he gave her some pretty tough feedback. He basically told her she dominated conversations.
Ouch.
Yeah, not easy to hear.
I bet not.
But instead of getting defensive, she really listened, asked for advice on how to improve, and it actually made their relationship stronger.
It's such a good example of turning a potentially negative thing into a positive learning experience.
Exactly, being open to feedback even when it's hard to hear,
So we've got these core character skills, being proactive, determined, open to feedback.
That's the foundation.
It's a lot. But even with all that, we need support sometimes, right?
We do. And that's where scaffolding comes in, which is what we'll dig into next. Scaffolding. Think of it like, those temporary structures you see around a building under construction?
Yeah.
They're crucial when the building's going up. Once it's strong enough, they come down.
So it's that extra boost we need to get over a hurdle.
Right, that extra support.
And it can take different forms depending on the challenge.
Exactly. Grant gives this really interesting example of using Tetris.
Tetris?
Yeah, to reduce intrusive thoughts.
That's fascinating.
Sounds kind of strange, but research shows that playing Tetris can actually be pretty effective. It activates different parts of the brain.
So it's like a targeted kind of support,
Yeah, a specific solution for a specific problem.
like finding the right tool for the job.
Exactly. And sometimes the best support can come from just stepping back.
Taking a break.
Yeah, or even changing direction.
It's so easy to get caught in that push through it mentality.
Yeah.
We forget to rest and recharge.
And Grant talks about how important breaks are for creativity. He uses the example of Evelyn Glennie, the percussionist.
Oh, wow. She's amazing.
She's deaf,
Yeah, and she's world-renowned.
She emphasizes deliberate play and breaks to avoid burnout.
She's like creating her own scaffolding, right?
Exactly. She couldn't hear the music in the traditional sense, but she learned to feel those vibrations through different parts of her body.
That's incredible.
It's amazing what we can achieve when we find those creative solutions.
Absolutely. But what about when we're not just needing a break, but like really stuck?
Hitting a wall.
Yeah, like you don't know how to move forward.
Sometimes the only way to get to the top is to go back down a bit and find a new path.
I know, but it's so hard to admit we need to change course.
Especially when we've invested so much.
Exactly, but sometimes you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward.
Exactly. Grant is a great example of this with R.A. Dickey, the baseball pitcher.
Yeah.
He had to completely unlearn his old pitching style to master the knuckleball.
Oh, wow. That's a huge change.
It was a risk, but it paid off. He won a Cy Young Award, had a long, successful career.
Sometimes you gotta let go of the old to make room for the new.
Absolutely. But what about when we're not just stuck, but we're feeling like kind of, unmotivated, lost our purpose?
Grant calls this languishing.
Oh, that resonated with me.
It's that feeling of stagnation, going through the motions.
Like you've lost your spark.
Even Grant himself says he struggled with it while writing this book.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel better.
It's normal, even for high achievers.
So what do we do about it?
Focus on small wins. Take detours to refuel.
Small wins, I like that.
And remember that progress, it's not always a straight line.
Sometimes it's those detours that lead to the best discoveries.
You never know what you'll find when you wander off the beaten path.
Okay, so we've talked about character skills, building scaffolding when we're facing challenges, but there's this other layer, right? The systems we're in. It's like we've been talking about all the stuff we can do,
Right. Building character, creating those supports.
Yeah.
But the systems we're in, those matter too.
Oh, absolutely. Grant talks about how these systems can either, lift us up or hold us back.
What are some examples?
Well, he talks about how we often have this winner-take-all mentality.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
And it can lead us to miss out on hidden potential, especially for people who face more obstacles early on.
Yeah.
He tells this amazing story about the Golden 13. They were the first Black Navy officers in the U.S.
Oh, wow. I don't know that story.
It's incredible. Imagine the discrimination they faced back then. But they excelled despite that, in spite of a system that was working against them.
It makes you think how much talent we've wasted because we haven't had the right systems in place.
Exactly. Like that saying, talent is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not.
So how do we create systems that are more fair, that give everyone a chance?
Grant looks at the Finnish education system.
Oh, Finland, they're always at the top of those rankings, right?
Exactly. And it's not a coincidence. They've prioritized equity, making sure every student has access to quality education and support, no matter what their background is.
So it's not about finding the gifted kids. It's about giving every kid the chance to thrive.
Exactly. Personalized learning, highly qualified teachers, a culture of collaboration, not competition. Grant tells this story about Kari Luhivuori, a principal in Finland who personally tutored a student who was struggling.
Wow.
Helped him catch up, and he ended up excelling. It shows how powerful that one-on-one support can be.
Sometimes all it takes is one person who believes in you, right? To unlock that potential.
Absolutely. And that idea of recognizing potential where it's often missed, that's especially important in hiring.
Oh, hiring. It feels like we're always focused on what someone's already done,
Yes, instead of their potential for growth.
Right.
Grant talks about Jose Hernandez, an astronaut. He was rejected by NASA 11 times.
11 times.
Before they finally accepted it.
Oh my gosh, that's persistence.
It shows how those traditional systems, where we only look at past achievements, can miss out on people who have incredible potential.
So what changed? Why'd they finally accept him?
Well, NASA shifted their focus. They started looking at character, at the obstacles people had overcome, not just their accomplishments.
Okay, so seeing the whole person.
Exactly. So what are some ways we can rethink hiring to be more inclusive?
Yeah, how do we find that hidden potential?
Grant talks about using things like grade point trajectory, which measures how much someone's improved over time.
So it's not where you start, it's how much you've grown.
Exactly. And he suggests using real-time work samples to let people demonstrate their skills.
Okay, so give them a chance to show what they can do.
Yeah, instead of just relying on a resume.
That's so important.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the big takeaway? What do you want listeners to remember?
I think the biggest thing is that we all have more potential than we realize.
We're not limited by our past.
Right, with the right character, the right support, and the right systems, we can achieve incredible things.
And recognizing that potential is everywhere, not just where we traditionally look.
Yeah, that's key.
This has been so insightful, and I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. What if, instead of trying to find geniuses, we focused on cultivating the genius in everyone?
Wow, that's powerful.
What kind of world could we create? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into hidden potential. We hope you found it inspiring. Share your thoughts with us on social media using #HiddenPotential. And until next time, keep exploring, keep believing in yourself.